Hey, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, whenever you happenstance in this truth bomb riff of the con. My name is Patrick Lovell, and I'm joined by my colleague.
I'm Roseanne Ravioli.
And it's Tuesday evening. We're kind of trying to get these things done once a day. We're trying to build some momentum with the folks out there that I know are hearing us, but we need more and more to join us. And we're just trying to bulldoze this truth into your bandwidth so that you can wake up and smell the roses from this insanity that we're all in the midst of. And what's on your mind right now, Roseanne?
So what's on my mind is I looked at Twitter all day today, and I wrote an article just maybe an hour or so ago, and I told people, I'm yelling at ya. Okay, I'm yelling at you. I'm yelling at you because we have this information on our website, thecleannewdeal.org, and we have this information, and you have to take your head out of your butt or wherever it's at or whatever you're doing now, right now. I want you to go to the website. I want you to share this. And why do I want to do this? Because shit's going to blow up. Everything's going to blow up. People are going absolutely bonkers out there. And I want them to concentrate for 10 minutes, for 10 minutes, and go to the website, thecleannewdeal.org, and look at it and let it sink into their head.
Why?
Don't think about anything
Why?
else. That's
Why?
it.
Why?
I want them to do that because we have the truth, we have the evidence, we
What's
have
the
the
truth?
facts. The truth is that corruption births and fuels fascism.
Bingo. Okay, so what do we have that reveals what the corruption is?
We have the con, we have 500. The con is the blueprint of all the ways, the who, what, when, where, and why we came into the 2008 financial crisis.
What does that have
That's
to do with now? That was ancient history.
No, it's not ancient history because the money that was used from Obama, that was like what, $29 trillion?
It wasn't
That
used by
went,
Obama. It was the Federal Reserve during the Obama administration. What happened was there was the most massive smoke and mirrors in the history of the world. Congress supposedly saved the world from global contagion based on what was known as the Troubled Assets Relief Program, which was $700 billion. But what we didn't know was the Federal Reserve backdoored $29 trillion in 2009. They kicked in another 16 trillion by 2016. That's 49 trillion plus another 22 trillion for a repo run in 2019. That was all before COVID. And then there was many trillions more that all came through the same backdoor alley that Federal Reserve Act 13.3 enabled through exigent circumstances. None of it was ever written for, particularly through the racketeering we exposed. Why is that important, Roseanne?
okay, they're getting money illegally.
Who's they?
I call them the big boys, but they are the oligarchs.
They're
They
the
are,
billionaire and the billionaire apparatus. It's primarily the financial system that props up the international oligarchy, but billionaires are definitely a part of that. Okay. So why does that matter?
it matters because we don't have democracy, right? We don't have it. The law has no integrity. We have all the problems that are connected that we could get a handle
You
on.
said some confounding things because apparently this election's to get save democracy. Okay, people, we don't have a democracy. We haven't had a democracy for a long time. If anything, we've had a representative republic, but then of course, under the nature of what we've identified through the electoral college, we know that that is ruled by the minority that can be manipulated. And quite frankly, as was demonstrated and attempted during the 2020 election, can be stolen. And as it turns out, that wasn't the first time in history that that happened. But it's all a facade, okay? Especially if billionaires primarily have complete control. If billionaires and billionaire apparatuses are above the law and above market forces, then that means we're an aristocracy slash oligarchy, or if you ever want to go back to what Aristotle taught us 2,000 years ago, the long and the short of it is the last thing we are is a government of, by, and for the people. Why does that matter, Roseanne?
Do we want a king again? Did we not fight and have an American Revolution against tyranny?
What are you going to ask Tim Walsh? Why should millions of people ask the same question?
Tim Walsh, coach, throughout your career as a teacher and while you served your country in the National Guard, did you ever teach your students or anybody that the United States was created to elevate billionaires and billionaire apparatuses above the law and market forces while deceiving the American people with massive global criminal racketeering? Did you teach that the billionaires were illegally backdoored tens of trillions of dollars to allow them to destroy the economy and the law while buying our government? Did you ever teach them that?
Okay,
Why
let me ask you
or
a
why
question.
not?
Let me call you a question in context to that. Is that the question should we be asking, or should maybe we define what is financial terrorism?
Well, financial terrorism is if you look at any of the how the financial sector has grown and become overwhelming in our country, do they produce anything? What do they produce?
Okay, so that's not what I'm asking. What about Addie Polk? What happened to Addie Polk? Who is Addie Polk?
Well, Addie Polk was a 91-year-old Black widow who owned her home outright, and she may have taken out a small loan, say like something like $5,000, but people were preying on her. Once they got her
They were preying
information,
on her because they created falsification of business documents to be able to take out loans in her name that ultimately her house was foreclosed on when she didn't know those loans were taken out because the system was that corrupt. That's called straw buying. That was one of, I don't know, let's call it hundreds of thousands of cases in the United States at about that time period. But that's on top of the tens of millions of illegal, felonies that we know were extracted to create gazillions of liars' loans that ultimately blew up the global economy in a racketeering scheme that ultimately use the courts to do their dirty work. Why is that important given what we're finding out tonight, given that the Supreme Court was thinking about presidential immunity and, for example, literally having a hard time rationalizing whether or not the president could be held accountable for treason?
uh, I believe our Constitution says that it spells it out in section 14 that
It's section
it's not
14.3.
14.3. Okay. But it states right there, first of all this stuff shouldn't even be happening because he is prevented by the Constitution from running for office.
It's any office that was involved in an insurrection. What happened on January 6th of 2020?
There was an insurrection, and it wasn't just some fine people.
Fox says it was just a bunch of people taking a tour,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
then what
Yeah.
what did Fox also admit to in a $787 million?
They admitted that they lie. They lie.
Who admitted that?
I want to say Donald Trump
No,
invented
as
a
Rupert
lie.
Murdoch admitted that his entire
Oh,
business
okay.
model is a lie.
You're
Okay,
talking about him. Okay.
what else do we know is a massive platform of lies?
Twitter,
Yeah, who's in charge of Twitter?
Elon.
And so, what is Elon?
Well, I've always considered him kind of a dummy and a propagandist.
Is he a billionaire?
Yeah,
Is he a multi-billionaire?
yeah,
Did he get free money from the Federal Reserve backdooring through
yeah.
banks, tens of
And he
trillions
got
of
a lot
dollars
of
to do
money.
what exactly?
He got a lot of money out of the state where I live.
So what
Okay.
did you open out with? You talked about that people all day, every day are lying up to their eyeballs and they can't see straight because they've lost their minds because nobody can see the forest through the trees and all we see are more and more lies, just like we've said in our wonderful website that's bulletproof that has the answers that the entirety of media from the New York Times to all mainstream media to the FBI to the DOJ to the SEC and everybody in between, not to mention, of course, all the liars at Fox and everybody else could never, ever, ever allow you to understand. Otherwise, this would all fall down like a house of cards. We put down at www.thecleannewdeal.org everything that we're talking about and then some. And it's bulletproof. All you got to do is open up the door, walk in, and as I like to say, we made it all for free because all the American people buy our lies. Listen, people, we don't have much time left, okay? The bottom line is we have tweakers that have lost their minds that are complete idiots. But you know what? They've overrun the circus and everybody else is ducking out because they don't want to play ball. If you really honestly think that this election is going to go down peacefully, that you think whatever Walsh and whatever Harris are doing right now to be able to, like we said the other day, which is, hey, let's have another debate. Let's just make it relevant for mainstream to see what we already know between JD Vance and Tim Walsh. I mean, it would be a joke. I've already made up my mind. Have you made up your mind? I certainly have made up my mind. I know that you don't, you're reluctant, and so am I about the Democrats, but compared to Trump, are you kidding me? And let's talk a little bit about the war and Israel and Lebanon and everything else and how this stuff all comes full circle. Because what did I say in my article yesterday?
Your article yesterday, first of all, laid out the entire truth, the entire framework about how things have been going on. And you've always reminded people, always, about what this just happened right now. No, it has not happened right now. I always think about it. People say forever wars. Yeah, we're going to have forever wars. Why do we have forever wars? You know what my short answer is? We have forever wars because we got to cut off their money. Now, I say cut off their money, and what I mean is people have to understand how that money can be cut off. How can it be cut off, Patrick? Federal Reserve Act 13.3.
What people need to understand is that the whole thing is a lie. It's a very simple situation. People, if I could make mistake after mistake and never pay the price and get endless money, what kind of person would I be? Might I be someone who could
Taker,
run?
a
Would
taker.
I be someone who could run for the presidency if I had 30
No,
criminal convictions?
no,
No,
you're
if I had
addicted.
endless amounts of money, I certainly could. Could I have a platform like Twitter or X where I just have nonstop lies all day, every day? You know,
Yeah,
Brazil pulled the wood out to take it down and take Elon to the back house or the outhouse or whatever, and give him the beat down. And you know what? He caved. He cried like a baby to the Brazilian officials, and he caved. He gave in, and what he did. Why isn't the DOJ going after Elon Musk? This is a clear existential threat. It's not a high bar for freedom of speech because of political discussions. No, you see tens of millions. If I literally did the analytics and I got inside the algorithm, I guarantee we could find, and get the stats that I guarantee were probably millions upon millions of lies per second, defamation, hate speech, insidious perversion of things that are so easily proved that are slander, among other things, but yet nobody's stopping it. And not only that, you get me, I get throttled down, and they amplify lies. And you know what's been kind of fun? And I love to piss off MAGA beyond comprehension. I love to see their heads explode because I can't stand MAGA. I think they're beyond reproach or reform because they've lost their freaking minds. I know that there's some that had, solid beef because of what happened with the Obama administration, what's happened over 4 decades of neoliberalism. Yeah, I get that. But you really think that, there's no way out. There's no good situation. To me, it feels like the whole thing is about to collapse. I think that the Trump goons and everybody that's involved have already figured out whatever their next demarcation is because they've got the Supreme Court locked up and they're already talking about how he's immune and they've already got Congress and they've already got, well, plenty of idiots. And then, of course, all of this different machinations of billionaires around the world. Who's got the power? The people with the money. And the last thing I'll say in terms of an analogy that I think everybody can understand, imagine going into the casino, you're a fat whale and you just start dropping money left and right and you make the dumbest bets in the world. You buy, ridiculous amounts of alcohol for yourself and food and you get bloated like that guy in the Monty Pythons. What was it? Gosh darn it, it's one of the greatest comedies of all time. But the guy explodes because he just ate too much because he was just such a pig and a carnivorous. And this guy is just so disgusting because he just can't do anything right. And all of a sudden, you find out that he gets thrown out of the casino because he just destroyed everything and everyone. And the next thing you know, he's back the next day and the next day and the next day because he is the house. And he can't make mistakes and he's fucking everybody else up. That's not capitalism, you morons. That has nothing to do with risk reward. The situation, and there's only one situation that is the core problem of all else: corruption. And like Roseanne said, corruption burns and fuels fascism. We just had the Supreme Court literally considering that a president can be immune for treason. Now, I think that's kind of funny because, again, Donald Trump is a red carpet reflection of everything that we are. The fat, lying, disgusting, treasonous, perverted pig that he is. And the bottom line is, what are we going to do about it, America? We're going to be polite. We're going to pretend like this is a normal election cycle. No, man, this is the end. This is the end if you can't wrap your head around the simple truths that we're providing you. What are the 4 questions, Roseanne?
Well, the 4 questions we have are: what is qualified immunity? What is presidential immunity? What is the Electoral College? And what is the illegal use of Federal Reserve Act 13(3)?
Let me answer those questions really quick because we're running out of time. Qualified immunity allows the police, if they decide to plant a gun or murder somebody or shoot somebody, they never have to prove the case that they didn't actually, weren't in self-defense. They can just make anything up at will, which puts them above the law, which is absolutely insane. And there's a lot of tragedy that comes from that. What is presidential immunity? Well, we just said if treason is not beyond the scope of presidential immunity, I don't know what else to tell you, people. You got to understand just the basic structure of what the United States is or supposed to be, and that we are in a place that is unfathomable to anybody who's been around for a while and understands what we once were, even though we've never been perfect. But this shit is out of fucking control. What is the Electoral College? It's a perversion of democracy because it's not democracy. It's ruled by the few through manipulation that can choose, among others, not just the president without a popular vote. But then you can end up with the judicial immunity of 6 Supreme Court justices in a scenario where there's 9 Supreme Court justices where they can rule on something so asinine, not to mention everything else they've done in the last 2 months to basically etch and sketch the entirety of American history. And if that doesn't make you insanely pissed off, then you're an idiot. I'm sorry. You're stupid. You don't even belong in America, nor should you have the right to vote. And you shouldn't have a right to have a voice on a platform of free speech of lies. You know what that is? That's called fascism. So what's that lead us to in terms of the Clean New Deal, Roseanne?
It leads us to the precepts. And the first one, we have to create a modern day Glass-Steagall so we can separate commercial banking from investment banking. We got to end Citizens United, because all that is legalized corruption by dark money. Gotta end, gotta end. We got to show people, demonstrate how $71 trillion was looted illegally by the financial system that betrayed our institutions to prop up billionaires and their apparatuses, foisting them above market forces while rewarding them for betraying tens of millions of Americans through a monumental global criminal racketeering ring using our financial and judicial systems to do that, to do just that. There's a better way to spend $71 trillion than on corruption, benefiting a minuscule percentage of our country. We gotta expand SCOTUS to 13 justices and enforce a canon of ethics to make those corrupt perpetrators accountable to the law. We have to end qualified immunity. We have to end presidential immunity, and we have to end the Electoral College.
That is absolutely freaking outstanding and unbelievable. The bottom line is everything is upside down, inside out. We have the answers. You can find it at www.thecleannewdeal.org. You don't have to be in the dark. When you live in truth, you live in light. When you live a lie, you are depraved. When you have the truth, you're bulletproof. When you lie, inside you die. Stop lying. Stop buying lies.